and I'm also with Marina Quarry from DPC. So.
Okay.
Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to our workshop for the Marina Island overlay. I'm going to get our workshop started here, and we're going to have some opening comments from our city attorney, Miss Amy Myers.
I was requested to give a brief overview about the purpose and intent of the two Marina Island items you are considering today. The first one is an overlay ordinance. It is the setting of policy against which all future development orders will be sort of measured against. Your development agreement is a contract that both of them serve, both the ordinance and the agreement serve to create entitlements for this developer. But the agreement itself is a contract that has a lifetime of 30 years, as currently presented. There is overlapping content in both the ordinance and the agreement to vest the densities, maximum height, uses of the property. But they have different effects. One is the setting of policy, and one is an agreement that has some strings attached to it in terms of timelines and public entitlements as well. I have distributed before you get started, just a visual that sort of indicates the development process very, very generally. I want to highlight that this overlay district ordinance and the agreement fall into the entitlements category. It's step one. As the developer gets ready to go to construction and actually build and develop the land, they'll have to submit a series of development applications. That's essentially step two. And then when he goes and gets ready to build, his actual building permit and site development permits. So this is step one in a process. Not every question, I think, can be answered about what specifically will go where and how it will look like. And it's not meant to. This is meant to preserve sort of the big picture entitlements. And that's going to be achieved through those two items you have before you today. Also distributed is some draft language regarding a buffer that would go in the overlay ordinance. This is similar to the language that was on the table before you at your last public hearing, and I realize we're not in the public hearing, but in case it comes up, I wanted you to know it was here. It's substantially similar, however, it omits some indemnification language that a third paragraph you might have noticed in the first version. So those are my comments to get you started, and I'm here to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. City Manager.
So, Mayor, the commission asked that we have a workshop on this overlay and to give a little bit more in-depth and background on it. We do have Andy Bales here today. We have also some representatives that can answer any additional questions about the overlay itself. The commission did send in some questions that were answered by Mr. Bales, and he is here available to answer any additional questions. Before we get started, I wanted Amanda, if she would come up and give any information that has not been covered by Amy or in your presentation from previous weeks.
Afternoon. I wanted to let you know that I know one of the questions was about a traffic study. An in-depth traffic study was completed. I have it. It's about 2 sides. It's both sides of the page, and it's about that thick. We told them the methodology that we wanted. We explained to them the roads and the intersections that we wanted to be looked at. This was last year. They did carry out that traffic impact study. We do have it. We had it reviewed by Kimley Horn, Vinny from Kimley Horn. He will be here at the public hearing. So I wanted to let you know if you've got any traffic-related questions, he will be here to answer those. I think the other thing that I wanted to kind of make clear was that it's been touched on, and it's on my presentation for the commission meeting, is that all of the things that are looked at development order stage, such as the environmental impacts, stormwater, those kinds of things will still be looked at. There won't be any impacts. I don't think there's any wetlands on there, but coastal impacts, those kinds of things will be looked at. Some of the questions that have been asked don't actually come into play until the building permit stage. So it would be the building department, when they submit for their house plans, that would make sure that those houses were at the correct elevation. Obviously, they're not going to be bringing in fill dirt. They're all going to be raised up. But that's the kind of thing. I feel like we've had a lot of questions thrown at this that are not relevant for an overlay, but it's complicated, and I understand that. People don't realize, at what point does something kick in? The overlay is purely to allow things that you are allowed to give permissions on. Anything that's in the comprehensive plan, things like density, they cannot mess with. They cannot increase the density other than the density that's already allowable. They cannot, impervious surface, they cannot go over the impervious surface that's in the ULDC, because that's also in the comprehensive plan. So anything that's state controlled, anything in the comp plan, they cannot ask for allowances on. The only things that they're asking for are things that are city ruled, such as lot sizes, setbacks, signage, street designs, heights, those kinds of things. I just wanted to, because it is complicated, so I just wanted to kind of make that clear. Thank you.
So we tried to, as I think everyone knows from being up here in the past, we've tried to create a community with DPZ's amazing help. They've done so many great communities around the country and around the world that fit with the ethos of Lynn Haven and the bedroom community, feeling and that great warm feeling you get here in Lynn Haven. We've tried to work closely with city staff to really manage all the little details, because there's 1,000 of them, as you can imagine. And I think it's going to be a great project. If anyone has any specific questions, we're here to hopefully answer them.
Thank you. You can have a seat. Thanks. All right, so Commission, we have a little over an hour or so to go through this. We'd also like to get our questions out, get those clarified, and then we'll also offer some time for the community to ask questions as well. And then, of course, we'll discuss this officially at our commission meeting later on this evening. So let's just sort of do a roundabout. Commissioner Peebles, are there any particular questions that you have initially opening up?
Yeah, sure. The first one is I want to address what we have right here, and I've spent a lot of time talking to citizens on this because, first of all, let me say I'm very pro Marina Island. I really want to see it go through, but the key is to make sure that everyone can be good neighbors to each other, right? So, but I will say I've probably had more responses from citizens than anything since I've been up here. And it's all been, please, please, please make Marina Island happen. Really only the difference is, if I want to see Marina Island, but can we please make sure we do this? You know, and so I just want to say, thank you to everyone that reached out. It's great feedback. But there has been some things that have really stuck out that some of the people in the community, as well as members of the industrial parks, have asked. And the number one thing that I just want to make sure is that we want Merrick Industries to stay happy, because they're vital and very important to this community. And as you see here, what they handed to us, I believe, talking about using a Zone D buffer instead of a Zone C, I think that is a fair compromise. I think I went out there to Merrick and visited it myself. He showed me what 20 feet is versus what 60 feet is, and 20 feet is a lot closer than I thought it was. And yes, there is shrubbery and trees and stuff there, and yes, ultimately the people that move in, as long as they know that that's there, it's kind of on them for moving in. However, if we have Merrick that really their only request is that, can you please make it 60 instead of 20, and can you please have it in writing that those people going in those properties know that they exist, I think it's a fair compromise. I think it's something we should look at and seriously consider. There are a few other things too. One thing, that there is a few citizens that live on the water, and one thing that I've had a few of them reach out to me, and they are very pro Marina Island as well. They just want to know, with that boat ramp there, with the stacked boat ramp, they're kind of worried about noise that's going to happen that could be affecting them living so close. And really, I guess, just to make the developers aware of that, if we could somehow make sure that they're, that's looked into. I'm sure that it has, but I just wanted to voice that publicly. And then the other things, two things that really stuck out to me is that I know that we've talked about this in other areas in the past, and that's parking. So some of the things that they've asked for in parking, I think it's fair of them to ask, but I just want to kind of bring it to the table that we can talk about. One of the things is parking for a hotel. It's currently, as the overlay would have it now, would be one spot or half a spot per staff and one spot for every 2 rooms. I think that if we're going to do one spot per 2 rooms, that we should probably have one spot per staff. I think asking for a half spot for staff and one spot per 2 rooms is a bit of a hard ask, because that's virtually guaranteeing there's not going to be enough parking. I understand that some people are going to be riding their bikes there, walking there, whatever, but if it's a hotel, they probably brought a car, because it's not a hotel that's by an airport. So it's not like they're Ubering to the hotel and then Ubering to the airport. The other one is, I don't want to claim to be an expert in parking. It's just something that came up that I kind of noticed as I was reading it. And the other thing is that the way that the restaurants are set up, which I'm very excited for, but the restaurants currently have one spot per 250 feet of gross flooring. Panama City has one spot for every 75, and they have parking issues. So it's not apples to apples in that situation, but it's just something I wanted to bring to the table and talk about. Those are really my main things. Really, the number one priority for me, though, is I want to make sure that Merrick Industries is happy, and those citizens that we're talking about the sound are happy, because they're probably the most directly affected.
All right, so since we're there, we're going to come to Commissioner Purnell in one moment. Let's see if we can get the questions answered. Any thoughts on the parking? You have any thoughts about the parking? Is that a concern for anyone?
I mean, it's a concern, but I'm sure they have answers to it. I'd like to hear what their answers are.
I'll address the Merrick Industries, and Marina will
Hi.
share her experience.
In terms of parking, it's always a tricky one because based on, well, first it's very contextualized, right? And based on the people we work with, we've been told we're never going to need more parking than we have nowadays. With changes coming in terms of robo-taxis, changes coming with even in car technology, it's going to change, and the environment's going to change. So what I would encourage you to, we also don't want, well, on one hand, if he had a parking problem, you'd know he'd be successful, right? So the community, Seaside, for example, has a tremendous parking problem. And it is so bad that, or good, whichever way you want to look at it, that locals don't even want to go. Keep in mind that you would rather set the parking standards a little lower and then let the hotel operators who come in ask for more, because he's going to get restaurant operators, he's going to get hotel operators, and they are going to, if they feel they need more, they will ask for more. But to set it arbitrarily too high, yes, some places have it as high as 1 per 10 spaces. I don't know many communities that have it 1 for 75. That feels really, really high. 4 per 1,000 is probably generally what you see in most places. It can go as high as 6 for restaurants. 10 we have found is just excessive. There'll be a lot of people who live there who go eat there who won't need to park, who won't need a parking space. But for the people who come in from out of town or from out of Marina Island, they will need a place to park. But they'll come in as groups, right? There's not one person coming in per car, typically. You've got multiple people. So I would encourage you to not hit too hard on parking, because more impervious cover, and it makes everything more expensive. We've tried to right-size it as best we can, knowing that it is a bit of a guessing game, too. That would be my answer.
I add a couple of comments to what Marina said. First of all, we have over 5,000 parking spaces with the street parking, so there's plenty of parking we can spread out into. So if an operator or something needs more parking for their hotel or whatever, they can get it. And for restaurants and things like that, I think a lot of the restaurants, because now most people go across the bridge to Pier Park or to Panama City or to Panama City Beach to eat. I think the fact that we've got this beautiful rails to trails that the city built, and we're going to build the last mile of it, so to speak, and it's going to connect into our trail system, and people will be able to come in that way. Also, the boat from the marina, that's also taking traffic, and we anticipate there'll be a lot of golf carts. We're going to have special golf cart parking, electric bikes, bicycles, et cetera. So I think that if we can maintain this, we certainly are committed to making sure that people can find a parking space. We have one large parking structure that's an overflow on the site, and I think because the project will be phased over many years, I think that that'll also right itself, as Marina was saying. In regards to Merrick Industries, I couldn't agree with you more. I think there's 150 people or something like that work over there. We certainly welcome them to come and walk over and have lunch. But we want to be good stewards. We are not going to put any house 20 feet. The lots that you see there are actually lots. The houses will all of those houses towards the water are going to be pretty high-end houses. They're bigger houses, I should say. So those houses will have walls around them as well. So that'll dampen sound. And what we're using is the mixed use to industrial, what's already in the ULDC code of Lynn Haven. So we're not changing anything else. Changing it to D is a way that you could do it, and I appreciate the commissioner's comment on that. But I think it's unfair also to make a special exception for Marina Island, which is going to bring a lot of good to the community, tens of millions of dollars in new revenue to the community, which they can use to build parks or schools or whatever. We've also committed to building a children's museum over there, technology center. We've talked to city staff about it. We haven't publicly announced it yet. I guess that's what I'm doing right now. But we want to get back to the community, but we also have to, it's a project. We want to make money on the project, obviously. But money is not not our only driver on this. We want to build something great, So if we could, I would ask Merrick if we could maybe refine that a little bit and say anything that is within that distance, which we have right now in the mixed use, that we would have some kind of secondary sound delineation device, which trees and shrubs and a berm take about 20 decibels out of it. I think you said that there was about 75 decibels, Joe, didn't you? Okay. So the trees take about 20 decibels out of that. A wall will take another 20 decibels out of that. So just to give you a quiet dishwasher is 42 decibels. So that's like the most quiet dishwasher on the market. So if you get an idea of what that equates to, that's what I would ask. But we'll acquiesce to the city's requirements on that. I mean, within reason, obviously.
Further questions on the parking?
Well, I think as they were talking about the parking, I think good points are made. And one thing I didn't consider, and now I'm thinking about it, is we're already going to have to worry about traffic on 14th Street and other areas in the city. So if we incentivize not using cars, that means you will have less traffic on those streets. And I think that might be a good thing. And if Marina Island is as good as we all think it's going to be, people will be willing to ride their bikes and their golf carts and stuff. So as far as the other thing, also want to say, don't forget about the request for notifying in writing to the properties that abut. They requested that. And if a sound wall will meet what Merrick is happy with, then sure. I just want to make sure that Merrick's happy. Like I said, I want Marine Island there, but I just want to make sure the best way we can make everyone happy.
Of course, and of course, it's not good for us to have clients that are buying houses on the water, especially, in that particular area. It's really good, beautiful views and so forth. You see the marina, you see the bay. It's not going to work for us if there's a problem. So we're going to certainly do it. And most of the houses are set forward. That's one of the things we did when we changed the setbacks on that, which is one of the things we're allowed to change. The houses are set forward. So really it's only outdoor space that's back there, that sort of courtyard area, and it's surrounded by an 8-foot wall. So.
All right. Any other questions for parking? Did you have any, Commissioner Ward? All right. Thank you. Commissioner Perno?
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Peebles summed up my feelings as far as the go-between Merrick and the Marine Island. I do feel like Marine Island is going to be a great thing, but I do feel like Merrick was there 40 years before, and if we could just come to an agreement. I know this says 60 feet, but I was talking to the city manager. Wasn't there something in one of the codes before that had it bigger?
Before they had it bigger.
Had the setback. Well, with mixed use up against industrial, it's a 20-foot setback, right? But when residential goes up against industrial, the setback's more, correct?
The way our code is written is you look at the land use. So it's the land use, and then you look at either the type of street that runs by it, or you look at the adjacent property's land use. So what you're looking at is an industrial land use against a mixed use land use. A mixed use allows for commercial or residential, but the code reads that where there's a mix, you use the most intense use, which would be the commercial anyway. But we have to look at the land use against the land use. So we're not looking at low density residential, we're looking at mixed use against industrial, which is what gives you, and the choices are.
The map has residential right there.
It's residential, but the land use is mixed use. The land use is what we have to look at, and the land use is mixed use, even though there's some residential in there. Mixed use allows for both, but the way that the ULDC reads is you look at the adjacent land uses. And for mixed use against industrial, it's a C buffer that's required. The narrowest is a 20-foot wide, the widest is a 30-foot wide, but if you go for the wider buffer, it requires less plants per 100 linear feet. If you go for the 20-foot wide one, it requires more plantings which absorb the noise, so more plantings per 100 linear feet. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I remember reading that in the ULDC. Sorry, I mean to cut you off.
Oh, go ahead.
Do we get the choice of which one gets chosen, or does the developer get the choice of which one gets used?
They can choose. Yeah. Usually the one with the most plants is the most expensive. And so, oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, but sometimes, if they've got a lot of space, they go for the wider one because they don't want to pay for all those trees and plants. But oftentimes, as you know, with the smaller parcels that we're used to looking at, they want to go for the narrower one because they don't have the space for the bigger one.
I remember in times past when Marine Islands come to the commission, we saw a berm. Didn't we have a map with a berm on it at one time?
We've had various maps and conceptual plans come to the city, but none of them were ever approved. I think you said you were going to put berm. You going to put berm?
I just hope that we can have, a good outcome with this between Merrick and y'all.
Of course, we want the same outcome.
How do we know going forward that there's going to be a peaceful transition between both? I mean, we really want to, whatever we approve today, you can come back and just do something that's not going to make them happy as a neighbor.
Well, I think we can't, because you guys have two more bites of the apple, so to speak, with the DO and then also with the permitting.
Okay.
The city attorney pointed out. So if when we present the DO, you'll see footprints of buildings and things like that. So you'll see. I think that the buildings will not be within 60 feet of that wall, or of the property line. One of the things that why we're standing so hard on this, I guess, is there's a large park, which is a community park, and we kind of anticipate doing events and free concerts, Shakespeare in the Park. We're putting in a big TV screen footage thing that pops out of the ground, and that you can watch movies in the park and stuff like that. That's for old Lynn Haven. So not just people there. There's no gated communities in the whole thing. I mean, we've been really adamant about pushing the whole inclusive thing, which we'll see tonight in the presentation. But if we move that 60 feet, we need those properties from a financial standpoint. We need those properties over there on that side because they're such beautiful properties, and it's going to be an amazing view. Those are probably some of the best units in the whole development. So obviously from that perspective, we also want them to be quiet and peaceful and not have, that sort of thing going on. So we'll make sure that it's not there's not a sound issue there. We have an 800-foot shared border, roughly 800 feet shared border with Merrick, and I think we can make it work. If there's some additional language we want to put in there or something like that, we'll certainly consider anything like that. We want it to be good for them and good for us. As I said before, we want their 150 people to come every day and enjoy some of the restaurants and things in Marina Island. We also don't want to cut down that big green, because that's what's going to end up happening, is we're going to end up chopping off another 40 feet out of that green, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I think now we're like 140 feet deep on that side.
I know 40 feet is a lot. I know 20 feet's not much, but 40 feet's a kind of a start. I mean, we got into it about the 40-foot setback from the CRA overlay on a piece of property not too long ago. So, and you know, when you go 40 feet from the back of someone's property, there's not, and we wanted to put parking lot in the back, and then there's not much not much left once you have a building and stuff. And I guess the gentleman, it was a smaller piece of property, and the gentleman said, you know, how can I sell this piece of property to anybody when you got me coming 40 feet off the back? And we made an adjustment at that time. So I mean, everything's you know per case, and in this particular case, I mean, I think we all agree we want everybody to be happy. So as long as we keep singing that tune, and you guys can be, you know, good neighbors, I'm all for it. I'll switch gears now to where the entrance, the bridge coming in like around 10th Street, where and I saw the wording where it was in the answers to the email questions that you all were going to dig it out, and it was going to have a better flow of water and whatnot.
That's right.
There's also a canal that runs there, and you guys have the land coming off of the, you know, on the east side of the bridge.
Right.
And I know you have part of the overlays there as well. Are you going to be opening up that canal to the bay?
So the canal today is open to the bay. I mean, you can traverse part of it. The problem with the canal is that the bridges that were installed over there are very limiting. The Sally Mae Bridge, you can get under the one between the parking lot and the building. You can get under that, or at least we can with one of Chris's boats.
Hero.
Yeah, and but once you get to the next bridge, it stopped. I think one time we were able to get one. Like a pontoon or something like that under there with everything stripped down on top of it, but it's not, it wouldn't be something you could get more than a kayak or something like that through. But it does need to be cleaned out. We'll work with the city on that to get it cleaned up, because it's full of debris from Hurricane Michael still. So, but we will, the first part of that, which will be to the bridge at Arthur Drive, that bridge to the edge, we'll dredge that in our application for the marina. We have to dredge that, and we're going to stiffen that wall over there. I don't know what that wall will be, but it'll be some type of seawall against our side of that bridge, and we can talk to the city about the other side too. I think that's a picturesque little area there. It'd be a nice little walk path. The city owns the property on directly opposite that. There's a service easement over there, but maybe there's something we can do together on that. But when they dredge the canal, because they need to dredge the canal for flushing and also for the flow through the causeway, that's going to open it up for everybody in the south part of the. They'll be able to get, I think there's going to be 17 feet clearance, if I'm not mistaken. It could be that there was 15 feet, between 15 and 17 feet clearance over there under that bridge. So anybody that has a boat will be able to put, a dock over there and put a boat on it.
And as you're doing the maritime construction and everything, that I also read that you're abiding with the state regulations and DEP and all that. And
we have to.
The grass, there's a lot of boat traffic means, there's potential to destroy a lot of seagrass over there and stuff like that. So there's a lot to it. I know you're doing it, and working with I'm on the policy board of the estuary program, and I know I think you've actually reached out and spoke with some of them. So I'm of the mindset that, you know, I think it's going to be great, and the more waterway you can open up and make it, it'll bring things back, so to speak, because those canals were traversable before, and I know there's residents that like to see that happen again. So
we own 2 parcels, Commissioner, bottom land in that south, and they're actually really, really poor seagrasses on it today. So I think we had Amy Douglas from, she was with
West Florida.
Get the name of it. It's like a Greek name or something like that. The engineering, the environmental engineering company, they went out and they swam that whole thing and they mapped all the seagrasses out there, and they're in pretty bad shape. But when we open it up, it's going to cause a lot of positive impact on the seagrass, on the wildlife, and so forth. That are, you know, the marine life that's in there as well. So.
And you'll be building my question was about the rails, but you already mentioned that, and you'll be finishing the rails accordingly.
That's right.
So everything will match up with what we have.
That's right. And it'll connect over the bridge. We'll probably do some, you know, trailhead near the entrance of Marina Island, and then that'll continue on to our trail system in the marina.
Your roadway in off the railroad easement will that go all the way to 390?
So that will go all the way to 390, yes.
All right, Commissioner Ward.
So this is a lot different for us, because normally I think we cringe when we get development orders sometimes, and we're like, we don't like it either just as much as you, the residents, and
Way more than that.
you know, it's very restrictive. This one's different, where we actually have options, and we can decide if we want to agree to something or not. So I'm also a proponent of the Marina Island. I think it can bring it's going to have an impact in the area. I think it's going to have a lot of great positive impact, but I think it's up to us to look at the areas that bring negative impact and try to decrease those as much as possible. So with all that being said, as you guys know, my big concern is the industrial park. You guys heard me talk about it, I don't know how many times. We as a city provide very little city services when it comes to the industrial park, which is why it brings in the most net revenue. And I guess that's my main concern is industrial park. I know right now with this overlay, there's just the one part that's going in there. And I know you guys have property that's in there. My concern is what are you going to do with the rest of the property once that comes up? And I don't even know if you can answer that question, or even if I can answer that question.
Can you elaborate on that, Commissioner?
So we have 4 businesses in the industrial park.
Sir.
I'm worried about if we encroach on them too much, that eventually those businesses would go away and then we lose them for good. So that's my worry with developing the industrial park is what are we doing so that we won't have an impact on the industrial businesses in there. And like I said, I know what the map that I've seen so far is just one strip that you guys are looking at doing multifamily housing. But I know there's other areas you guys have land that you own that I'm kind of worried about.
All our land that we own right now is on the overlay in that area. That's not to say that we won't acquire another piece of property. If somebody comes to us and says they want to sell or something, we would consider it. But right now, we're not really even, that's not in our radar. I mean, this is a big lift, what we have today. And it's not a development that needs an extra parcel to make it right. I mean, it's good as is. The little parcel that's in between there, we have a number of ideas of what to do on it. We sort of put some buildings on it as a placeholder, but it's not really been fully thought through. Right now, we're really focused on phase 1 and phase 2. Those would be as on the, I would say the DO that we'll present will be predominantly like what's being presented to the city today.
Pretty much where the old Field Depot is the main area.
That's the main area, yeah. And then we own 45 acres on the west end, which is indicated on the map there.
That's my concern, is the industrial part.
We're not interested in seeing the industrial park go. It's light industry. It's great. It's people coming out there. We'd love to see 1,800 people come back to the call center, in the high season. I mean, that's great for our business because we would set up a shuttle and go over there and pick people up at lunch and take them to the downtown of Marina Island. But yeah, it's not our intention to push anybody out at all.
Okay.
No, in fact, I think it works for us well. I mean, we have a nice buffer between Arthur Drive, everything there. We've got a buffer built in. That's I think it's over 60 feet. I haven't scaled it or anything, but it looks more than 60 feet. There's 3 or 4 rows of trees there. So I think it'll add class to the industrial park as well. We happen to be the declarant of the industrial park when we bought the land from the airport authority. But our interest is really status quo on that.
Okay. And I know we talked about the rails and trails. The way I understand it is you're going to have the rails and trails from 390 to the old Field Depot, but there's also going to be a road next to it.
Yes.
And so who's going to be doing that road? Is that going to be?
We'll build the road and the rails to trails.
Okay. Awesome.
We'll ask the city if there's opportunity for FDOT to pitch in, on the rails to trails, but we'll ask your support to present the deal to FDOT. FDOT has a lot of excess cash in their landscaping budget, so we thought maybe we could do a really nice linear park or something moving up there, so it gives it a nice trailhead to, somebody starts on 231 and they're coming in. It gives them a nice little oasis they can come to. So,
and going back to the noise barrier, do you guys have like an illustration or something to show what you plan on installing there for a noise barrier?
For the road, you mean?
Between Merrick and...
I do not have that, but I will provide one for the city. Yeah. Generally, they're berms with plantings on top and in front. So you've got full coverage there. We want to cover it anyway from
You
aesthetic.
say a wall, you don't actually mean a wall, you mean...
So each of the properties themselves have a wall that goes around the perimeter of the property. I don't know if you've been out to Rosemary or Alice or whatever. They're called courtyard homes. You'll see this evening at 5:30 when Marina does the presentation, some of those houses. So essentially it's the house, and then from the house there's a wall that goes around and gives you privacy in your backyard because the lots are not big, So it gives you privacy. You can have a pool back there and do whatever. And they're 8-foot walls, concrete walls. So
Okay. And then the last thing I have is, from my understanding, there's going to be one main road that goes to Marina Island called Marina Island Boulevard. That's going to be city road that we have to maintain. But all the other roads that kind of go off of that, is that going to be maintained by you and the HOA? And
So the road we build in, all the roads in the property we're building, we're paying for. However, if the city wants to take over those roads after we stabilize the development, we can offer them to the city to take over. If it doesn't meet the city's plan, then, or maintenance doesn't want it, or it doesn't work for the city, then you don't have to accept them. And then it's our responsibility with the HOA.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Vandegrift.
First of all, I'd like to say I'm very excited about the development. I too have had lots of communication over this topic from the citizens. I bet I've had at least 25 comments, all positive, most positive. It's been on one or two. their main concern, even though they've been positive, is that with the construction and the development and the improvements, that it's a positive impact on the bayou and the canals. And so I think they just need some reassurance that, you're going to go in there and do great things for that bayou. A lot of concern there from the neighbors around. As for me, I'm stuck on the buffer. And Merrick's been here a long time, and we need to show that we support the industrial complex, that we support the people that want to come there, go there, and develop their business. And so I might be the minority here. I've been the minority before. Oh, I am the minority here, or no, I'm the only female. No. I am in favor of the 60-foot buffer. And the reason for that is I believe in what's in black and white, what's on paper. And not that I'm doubting anybody's word. It's just I've learned in my old age that what's on print is what goes. So I'm in favor of the 60-foot buffer.
All right. Are there any additional questions from the commission?
Amy? Is there anything that would legally prevent a 60-foot buffer based on the UDL or the land development code as we have it now?
Not legally. You are setting a new policy here. So if it is your pleasure to set a 60-foot buffer, you may do so. The developer has a vision that keeps that buffer at 20, but if it is the city's pleasure to set a 60-foot buffer now, you may. The other alternative is to keep it at 20 or something less than 60, and then when you get to the development order phase and you see what's actually on the ground and its proximity to an existing industrial use, is to approve with a condition that the buffer be expanded. That's loosey-goosey. It's in the future. You don't know who will be sitting up here when that happens, but it is a possibility for the future. For right now, what you can do, yes, you can do that 60-foot if you'd like.
Just a quick question. So could we, just to be on the safe side, set a 60-foot buffer, and then later on, if we feel comfortable with the barrier or whatever they want, change the overlay to say, hey, 40 or 30 or something,
So I see, again, two possible paths. Yes, you can set the 60-foot here, and then in the future come back and amend it. This is ultimately your policy. So yes, you can come and amend it if it's too harsh or it's restricting development. Alternative, the developer can ask for a variance when he submits his development order application to get to a lesser buffer.
All right, thank you.
All right, this time we'll open the floor for questions from the audience. We'll have 3 minutes for that. We'll start just row by row. So row number 1 looks good. All right, second row. All right, Mrs. Gray.
Good afternoon. Just two things that I'm mainly concerned about. One is the road leading in. So when I looked at the GIS map and everything, there's portions of that road that they're intending to build leading into the development crosses, I think, 4 or 5 current residential streets where it would cross there. And I would be concerned about what those intersections are going to be like. Are they going to be 4-way stops, 2-way stops? Are any of them going to be lighted? What is the walking, like obviously I know the Rails to Trails is going to go on there. That's not going to be on both sides. It's going to be on one side or the other. How's that going to interact with the existing trail structure on the other side of 390? I know we have interesting crossings by Mowat School Road where you kind of got to divert and come back. So are we looking at doing something like that there where they're going to have to go down to Virginia and then come back to be able to utilize it? Also with the road, is the city going to have to pay for any of that road to be built? That's a question I have. And then also, is that road going to be the first thing built to ensure that all the construction traffic is using it? What I don't want to see, and I think a lot of people that live on North Shore in Maryland and potentially even 12th would agree with this, is they don't want to see all that construction traffic going through the neighborhoods. So if they built that boulevard in first, could we legally restrict it to only their construction traffic using it during the construction phase and keep the other public off of it? Like, could it be a private use road only during the construction phase? And then also in regard to like long-term maintenance and sustainability of their parks and things like that, is that all going to be stuff like all these beautiful parks and stuff that they're going to build? Are they going to have the responsibility to maintain those to a set level of standard forever, or are they going to become dilapidated at some point if they're no longer profitable? I mean, obviously, I know everyone wants to put up a real nice community, but all across America, you can see former communities that everyone wanted to be nice and they're no longer nice. So is there some kind of expectation to maintain those amenities like that for the community? And then I guess just general traffic impact concerns, like the traffic studies. Is that just traffic study based on traffic today, anticipated after it's built, and then also what's the impact, again, for construction traffic? So those are all questions I'd love to hear answers to. Thank you.
Thanks for your questions. Those are great questions. So I'll start with the construction traffic and the road. There's, based on where Phase 1 is located, coming in the 10th Street entrance, which I think is that Kentucky? The last street is Kentucky, is that right? The one opposite the water? Carolinas, thank you. So from Carolina to the front gate, I think we actually own that piece of 10th Street there, and that's how we're going to bring the road in and sort of tie everything together. We will, of course, have construction traffic during the construction of that road. So that we had planned, I mean, we'll work with city staff to minimize that traffic, but it won't be coming in through the neighborhood to the south of the project. It'll be coming in, if anything, it would come in off of 390 in Tennessee, which is a pretty, we own part of that property there, that first block, I guess, or the second block of that. And then when we bring in the road, it is our desire to bring that road in early. You asked about the width of the rails to trails. It'll be the same as the width of the rest of the rails to trails. We'll probably have some additional features on that, more like a linear park for that last mile. It's 0.65 miles, but that last section. And the traffic engineers and the civil engineers will map out to FDOT standards whatever that road is going in there. The city's already given us permission, I think, with the post-closing agreement to build the road, and then FDOT's already given us permission, the initial permission, but we don't have a drawing that's approved. So we're sort of where we'll be tonight after the God willing, the Marina Island Overlay District is approved. We still have to present a development order to the city, and we'll have a chance to kind of walk through all those details, because right now it's too difficult to try to anticipate all the little details for all those intersections and so forth. But the city will have an opportunity, the commission will have an opportunity, the community will have an opportunity to comment on that.
All right, thank you.
Did I answer everything?
Yeah.
So as I said, that's one of the first things that we're putting in. But again, there's construction traffic just to build the road. So, yeah.
Thought you might be interested in this. So This looked at phase one, and it also looked at full build-out, this being the traffic study. We told them the methodology, we told them the intersections that we needed, and basically it was like, okay, traffic comes this way, what if it goes this way, and then, I mean, they looked at lots of different segments. Their findings, so they've got findings for phase one, and then findings for the full build-out. So, what they found here, and like I said, you can ask more later, the study roadway segments and intersections project to operate adequately at phase one build out. The following roadway segments are projected to be adversely impacted at full build out. So these are the ones at full build out. So there will be, like, there's going to be development orders come to us every time they bring a development order. They're going to have to bring an impact study for that phase or that part, that development order to accompany it, because things are going to change, not just with what they're putting on, but the background traffic that's on the road is going to change. So the segments that will be adversely impacted at full build out are North Shore Road from State Road 390 to Goose Bayou Road, and again at full build out, 77 and West 9th Street, 77 and West 10th Street, 77 and West 12th Street. The recommendations are Marina Island Boulevard is recommended to be constructed as a divided two-lane facility with right turn lanes. The intersection of Marina Island Boulevard and Tennessee Avenue is recommended to be constructed as a roundabout or with alternative traffic control. The intersection of Marina Island Boulevard and State Road 390 is recommended to be signalized or alternative traffic control. No turn lanes are warranted at phase one, full access on Arthur Drive. Access analysis for the future phases should be conducted within their own traffic studies as part of individual site plan efforts. So it is going to be monitored as it goes along, closely monitored. I mean, this is, like I said, this up here. But the expert is here at the meeting so that you can ask him.
Thank you. Anyone else in that row? All right. Mr. Walker's row.
1106 Michigan Avenue. In the future, would there be any thought to having a second street leaving the fuel depot via over the marsh to Arthur Drive? I would like to know if, in fact, that might be happening in the future. That's a concern.
All
right. In the traffic study, there is some, between Arthur Drive and Sally Mae, some reconfiguration there to make it more efficient. There's nothing that would, we have no intention to go across any marshes.
Yes, sir.
We're dealing only with the changes to what does not go and affect us, really will affect us. You're going to get the development orders and everything like that. What you're doing here is you're going to give permission to do what happens and happened in the past. You're going to put yourself in a box. You're going to pass this stuff, and then you're going to regret it later when you get the development orders, because they're going to tell you they've done everything they have to do. City and the city state. So understand this. When you get down there, and this is going to be done in a 30-year program, they don't tell you what's going to be done in each phase. What they do tell you is at the bottom of the plan, they give you, about 25 pages of he said, she said, what the city has to do and what they have to do. If anybody goofs up, we'll be doing this. We're going to fail. We've done this before. This master plan is a regurgitated plan many years ago before, and it was shot down. Couldn't do it. Now, these plans are going to be changing the usage of the land. My words. It's been done before. The 950 acres is a good example of it. The CRA is a good example of that. Other pending developments outlined just like this. Great plans were put in there, developers were put in, lawyers came down, they settled it. They even came up with a universal plan for the 950 acres. E&D doesn't work. CRA has its overlays. They don't work. You know why they don't work? Because they pass them, they do the corrections, and then the citizens have to pay with their tax money. Most of them don't work. 950 acres, 20-year plan. E&D hasn't worked. That's an overlay. Now you're faced with the same thing here again. I'm not against development. We're not against that. The United States government gave up that property and sold it to you. Sold it to you. You owned it. 20 minutes. The original plan is on that wall there, 1911. With that went every law, every ordinance that went for the city of Lynn Haven to build that. Government owned it for 50, 60, 70 years. It wasn't your property. It was United States property. And they sold it to you. And you sold it to Green Island LLC.
All right, this time we'll let Mr. Bell respond.
Thank you for your comments. So we do have in the document that we presented to you a phase plan. Of course, just to remind the commission, because many commissioners, I don't think, was anybody here when in 2017 when we took it down, when the land had to be transferred to the city and then to Marina Island, and it was, I think, a sealed bid process. So that was all done based on the federal requirement. And then we obviously compensated the city for even the transaction in between based on the terms of our takedown agreement. I'll just stress, because I don't know where to start to respond, but I'll just stress that we're not here to try to exploit. We want to make a profit, obviously, but we're vision driven. The plan is a new plan, and I think it's going to be great for the city. I think everybody here in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years is going to say, "Wow, we had the vision to do this project," and that's it's a big lift, but I think everyone, including our neighbors in the industrial park, including our neighbors in the South Lynn Haven Bayou area, I think everybody will be happy with what we did.
Anyone else from that row? All right, next row. No. Next row. No. Next row.
I'm one of the residents on the South Bayou. Moved there in '89, been there 35 years. Left home in the country to come down to live on that bayou because I love to fish. Over the years, I used to go out the canal years ago when I first moved there. I floundered, I fished North Bay. I've watched the bayou fill in over the years to where it's useless. The wildlife, the fish, the grass is destroyed. A lot of that's because of the development of Walmart, Baldwin Plaza, the different things that we do. And I understand, that progress is inevitable. And when you have progress, you want to make sure that the people that want to do things do what they say they're going to do. I'm interested in the bio and the wildlife and this and that, I want to see it restored. I don't know how much this corporation's, their plans are for the bio. Are they going to dredge right at their bridge and maybe to the mouth of the bio? What about the rest of the bio up to 14th Street? Is all that going to continue to be filled in? That's the answer I have. That's a question I have. Are they going to be stewards of the bio from now on, or is the city going to take it? Who's going to dredge it in the future? Something needs to be done because, like I say, I can show you pictures. I've been involved in this a long time. I can show you pictures of the bio where it's filled in, and now the actual sand has filled in all the way to the end of my seawall. Never was like that before. And pretty soon, I told my wife here a while back, I said, if they don't do something about this bio, it'll be a fine place to build houses because it'll be filled in. And that's the truth of the matter. I see wood ducks. I watch the wood ducks every day. They go up in that creek across 14th Street and everything. I'm interested in I hate hypocrisy. I've heard hypocrisy all my life about this thing, We're interested in environment. Really? Filling in a bow? Killing the grass, killing the fire, killing the fish, killing this and that, I'm for this project. Don't get me wrong. I'm for this project. I just want them to do what they say they're going to do about the bow and do it right. And, that's what I want. And that's my interest, I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you.
John Bartlett. I've met you before.
Thank you for your question. So I wish he was up here just giving my spiel here for the city and what we need to do to the bayou, because what's happening is all of Lynn Haven's rainwater comes down and right next to our property on the south side, because we have 300 feet on the bayou as well. Well, we have much more than that, but we have 300 feet on the same side that he's on. All that dirt and debris and road matter and everything gets flushed right into that bayou, and it's just grown out. Even since we've owned it, in the 10 years that we've owned it, it's probably grown out 30 feet. And, that doesn't have any place to go because it doesn't flush. There's 4 pipes that are supposed to flush that, 4 3-foot diameter pipes that were put in the 1940s. And it doesn't, actually might have been the 1930s even, when they were building the fuel depot. They're completely full of barnacles. There's no flushing at all that goes through there. So when we make the cut, it's going to actually, and if you look at it on a map, it actually is straight across from that. So it's going to allow that, when the rainwater comes, it's going to allow it to come in and push out some of that material. Now, I'm certain that the material that's there now would take decades to naturally erode. It probably needs to be removed with dredging. Could be removed, we have to talk to FDP, but could be removed with mechanical equipment from the shore. But anyway, there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. We want that bayou to be back pristine, because it is, we own property to the east, to the north, to the west of that. And it's a great looking, bayou. It just doesn't flush. So building that bridge is really key, really key. And obviously it doesn't help us too much to build that bridge. We're building that bridge as a commitment to the city that we made early on in this process. It's, I think, close to $6 million to build the bridge and dredge all that out over there. We're making that commitment to the city to do that and fix that problem. And that's going to elevate all the not only the property values, but also just the quality of the properties. Like the gentleman just mentioned, that he now doesn't have a seawall, he's got a retaining wall. So, I hope we're able to do that and solve that, help the city to solve that problem.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm super excited about this project. I've been working on the bayou back from when I did a study for the Bay Environmental Study Team to look at the tidal exchange rates in the bayou. Since then, I bought a property on the obstructed side of the bayou, and I've been working with the Friends of Lynn Haven Bayou for years to try to get some sort of bridge or something in place to do this. So I'm really excited about it. I've also observed stormwater problems when, not just hurricanes, but flood events where in my backyard, the bayou is probably 6 or 7 feet deep, deeper than normal. And that's backing up and causing flooding all over the city, right? And by having a bridge and not having to go down that canal that's a mile long roughly and like inches deep, that stormwater problem will kind of be mitigated by this, in addition to the environmental quality of the bayou. So I'm really looking forward to that. So my question, I guess, in this is what phase of the project is the bridge, and is it early or is it later in the development?
Thank you for your question. So as I mentioned before, that we are putting in the roadway in early in the development, and that process will be the cut and dredging operation for that, which supports not only the roadway in, but it also supports the marina. So we will submit those development orders once we get through here. We're about 60% on the engineering plans for the marina portion. We have not started our development order for the phase 1 and phase 2, which we hope to present as soon as we get through this process, maybe 2 to 3 months after. So depending on the city's schedule, of course.
All right, thank you.
Just to be clear, that was the first phase.
Hey, I'm certainly very excited about this project. I think it'll be a great thing for the city. But I do have one concern. We're going to shift gears just a little bit here. I'm wondering about, since this is an overlay and it changes setback requirements within the current land use, per se, if you've got single family and our setback for single family is 5 foot, this will apply across all the properties in the overlay, as I understand it. So I'm thinking more about the property between Carolina and Tennessee on 10th Street and just to the south that is part of Marina Island, but not in what I would call Marina Island proper, which is the main part of what they're doing. But this piece between Carolina and Tennessee sits within some normal residential areas. And if we go and allow that in the setback, or I'm sorry, not the setback, if we allow that in the overlay, then those setbacks can be reduced to none, and it'll be a different feel for those little part of the town where we already have some residential that's abiding by our current land use codes and setback requirements. So it's something to think about, is that land right there between Carolina and Tennessee, just to the south of 10th Street. Do we really want that in the overlay, or is that something that you might want to look at later? I don't like to delay things. I don't want to slow this down at all, and I don't know what his phase plan is, but that part of it I'm a little bit concerned about, because we've not talked about that at all, and that is an area that they're talking about building in that'll be a little different from the traditional neighborhoods that it's in, so we need to be aware of that and cognizant of that. And I don't know if it's something that can be addressed later, or if it just has to stay in this overlay plan or not.
That small portion that is off-island, that is low-density residential, it is part of the overlay, but nothing's changing. The setbacks aren't changing. If you look through the documents, you'll see there's like a couple of pages that show what setbacks are, etc. The setbacks that are there for LDR are the same as they are now. They're not changing those. They're not asking to change those.
Anyone else on this row? All right, next row. All right, next row. Yes, sir.
I too am excited about the project. I see a lot of good things it's going to do for the community, especially my daughter's looking for something exciting new in the area. I live on the bayou. A couple of my neighbors have already spoke. The wood ducks are beautiful in the bayou. One of the things I saw on the map that gives me a little bit of concern is there's a commercial rack and stack facility, forklifts and boats. There's about 108 parking spots around that facility. So community's only used to maybe one boat really being a kayak coming through once a month. Having 108 plus boats coming in and out, we're going to be thinking about some protections for the bayou. Ideally, there's no commercial there, surrounded by all the residential. That's something maybe we can work through and talk about. But thinking about quiet hours, mitigations like no wake zones, possibly, and who's going to be enforcing that. And like the gentleman was saying, I actually waded out there over last summer, and my foot went down about 6 inches of just muck in the south side there, and it is continuing to get worse. I actually knew of someone who took a step in something like that, and it was deeper than a foot, and they went a little bit further, and they died. They drowned because of suction. Their foot got stuck in it. So you can also think about possibly being a safety hazard, as the bayou currently is without any of the development. But all that said, excited about what we're doing here.
Yeah. Asking, there's 108 boats or 108 parking spaces. Also, is there a possibility for a no wake zone, or if there's a possibility for quiet time, and just in general the safety hazard?
I think all of those are reasonable requests that would go with the ethos of what Marina Island is. The parcel that he's talking about is an industrial parcel. There is, I'm not sure how many parking spots off the top of my head, but I think it could be 108. It's surrounding the building for a dry stack, low-rise to rise stack, automated dry stack, which are very quiet operation. Sounds a little bit like a Tesla driving by or something like that, I guess. And then there's a small, like a retrieval area, sort of a parking area for boats. If somebody calls in and gets their boat, then they set it over there and they take it out. But I think it's a great idea about the no wake zone. It certainly is not big enough to go more than about 5 miles an hour in that area. So, I think that's something that the Corps will put in when we do our application with the Corps for the marina and dredging and the cut and so forth. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me.
All right. Anyone else from that row? Next row. Any questions? Any other questions from the audience? All right. Any additional questions from the commission? All right, well, thanks for coming out to the workshop. Thank you, Marina Island, for being here today and answering all the questions that we had. At this time, we'll conclude our workshop, and we'll be back at 5:30 for our